Energy issues are very complicated. You have companies making billion-dollar bets on new equipment, new investments, maybe in a new refinery, a new set of oil rigs and drilling equipment. Lots of complicated decisions being made by energy companies. And one important part of that decision-making process is to engage the public and to make sure that you have the right license to operate, that you have the right regulatory approvals that you need and licenses. And this is where social media can really help make a difference for energy companies. If you think about the public engagement on issues, social media is a great way to listen in on what the public is thinking. So you can understand positive and negative feelings, who's neutral on an issue that you might be able to bring closer to your side. The other great thing about social media is that it helps you understand who's influential in a certain debate. So say, for instance, it's hydraulic fracturing or a new refinery being built, and you want to understand who's having a big influence in that conversation on social media. These analytical tools that we've developed at IHS can really provide a lot of value, I think, to energy companies who are making these big capital expenditures. Yeah, the oil sands is a great example of an energy issue where social media can really help add new insight. And I think with the oil sands, you've got kind of an interesting situation because, of course, the oil sands are being developed in Canada for the most part, but a big chunk of the debate is happening in the United States, particularly about should we be importing that oil or maybe building a Keystone pipeline to bring that oil to the Gulf Coast of the United States. And so what we're learning about the oil sands is that we've got a difference between the conversation happening north of the border in Canada and in the United States. And it's a much more positive conversation in Canada. Certainly there are elements of the public there, particularly in British Columbia and the environmental groups that are not excited about oil sands development. But the bigger sets of criticism and groups of critics are really in the United States and many of the NGOs and environmental groups south of the border. And so we're tracking that very carefully, and you can see it show up in this particular map that we've developed, where you can really see the difference in the positive, more positive feeling in Canada and the more negative feeling at the state level in the United States. And I think that really is a testament to the influence that some of these environmental groups and individuals have in this debate. And so you can see the difference between Canada and the United States. The other thing that we're doing with the oil sands is we're able to look very closely at what events are moving the needle, what's really causing the conversation to take off. And you can see in this particular timeline that we've developed some of the events in Canada, some of the events in the United States that have really caused a spike in that conversation where people are really focused in on that topic. And these social media tools have helped us to better analyze that. So the measure of influence in energy debates and really conversations on Twitter and social media at large is really developing science right now. And the approach that we've taken at IHS is to really look at not just the number of tweets that somebody sends or the number of followers or retweets that person might have, but instead look much more carefully at the social network in which that message is being embedded. And this really gets to the idea of centrality and transitivity of networks. And so how central is a person in a big network, or how transitive are their connections to other people, meaning are they two-way instead of just a one-way connection. And as we understand that social graph and those social connections, we then think we have a much better way of understanding total influence on social media. And so that really is the foundation of our analytical approach here. And you can see on the graphic that we've developed for the oil sands, we've been able to identify folks on an XY axis that looks at not only the number of tweets or the number of messages that they're sending, which is a component of influence, but it's certainly not the most important. And instead, we're using this idea of centrality to understand their influence score. And you can see that here on this graphic. And this allows us to literally look at individuals or groups that are involved in this debate, understand who's most influential, and we think that that holds a lot of strategic advantage for the energy firms as they try to better understand the stakeholders and the public at large that they want to engage with.